Don't miss a beat, join the notification squad by clicking that bell. You'll get notified every time I upload a video, and be sure to join our Discord to talk and get help with your code. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the source code. My name is Deshaun, and today we're going to be looking at arrays and array lists. We've sort of been using them a little bit as we've been going through, but I actually want to take the time now to make a dedicated video on how to use them. So all the code will be available for you guys on GitHub. I know we've been kind of lazy lately and not been putting all our code up on there. We've been busy doing a lot of other things, me especially in college, Ned with work, and then outside projects. So we'll do our best to make sure the code is on there for you guys. But anyways, so an array is a data structure which can store a fixed size of sequential collection of elements that are of the same type. So we can have an array of strings, array of an encapsulation class. I can have an array of numbers, doubles. It doesn't really matter. So what's nice about this is you don't have to go ahead and say, I don't have to say private string name 1 and then name 2. What I can do is I can actually just go ahead and say names, and then now what I can do is the preferred way to declare an array is to do it after the data type. You could do it the opposite way, and you could do it on this side on your variable name, but it's generally best to do it on your data type. So now what we can do is there's a few ways where we can basically initiate, instantiate, however you want to call it, our new array, right? So I could do it this way, which I go ahead and put squiggly brackets, and then I can go ahead and start adding text here. So I could say Jess and Tom and Jim, right? So this will work. And now if I just go ahead and say for string names, and this is let's just say name, and we gotta go ahead and make sure we make this static. So if I go ahead and just say system.out.print name, there we go. And now if we go ahead and we run this, you can say that we have just Tom and Jim. So generally this is going to be the way that you want to do your arrays, and I just showed you guys how you can actually loop through your arrays so you can get all of your different values from it, and you could also do for each loops, which we talked about before. So now the next thing is ArrayLists, which kind of go pretty hand in hand with arrays. So an ArrayList is basically a class that implements the list interface, right? So standard Java arrays, which we just talked about, have a fixed length after the array is created. They can't really grow or shrink, right? Because we're telling it that there's only 3 variables in here, right? So we can only get access to these 3 variables, and there's nothing more than that. Versus an array list, which we can create, and we can basically almost have a pretty unlimited size. And when I say almost, I just mean in terms of in memory and whatnot. So what we can do is we can actually go ahead and change this to a public static array list. And now what we can do is we have to declare what data type we want this array list to be of. So for this, we'll go ahead and say it's going to be of a doubles, right? And let's just go ahead and just say double. So it's going to be an array list of doubles, and we're going to go ahead and say age. And now we're just going to go ahead and say equals new array list. Perfect. So now we have a new array list of age. So we're going to go ahead and change this to double ages. Or we'll change this to ages. We'll change this to ages, and we'll change this to age. System that print out age. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add to our array list, and in order to do that, all we have to go ahead and do is just say what the array list name is, so our variable name, and then add. And now we can go ahead and add a bunch of different ages here. And obviously 10 here is going to show up as an integer, so we just got to go ahead and just make it a double there. So if we go ahead and do all this, we can say 12, we can say 23, we can say 5, we can say 60, 65, 78, and we'll say 1. So now if we go ahead and print this out, you can see there that we have all of our ages, and there's no fixed length. So I could go ahead and I could copy this, you know, however many times this is, and we can do the system printout, and you can see that it's always going to allow us to keep adding back to our ArrayList, which is really nice. And you'll find that you're going to use ArrayList quite a bit. Now, depending what you're doing, you want to make sure that when you're using ArrayList, if you're using, say, a particular class or a particular variable that has a lot of information inside of it, for instance, if you're doing spigot coding, you don't want to use an ArrayList of players because it's going to hold a lot of information that you probably don't need, right? So you could go ahead and use what's known as the unique identifier, or the UUID, and you could go ahead and use that inside of here instead of using the player data, because then you could get the player from their UUID and then get all the information versus storing all the useless information inside of memory. So that's all I got for you guys today. Pretty easy. And just so you guys know, you can go ahead and if you wanted to clear this, right, so I could go ahead and say clear, which will clear the entire array list. So it's going to print out nothing here, right? So, but if I do it here, you know, I clear after all that, I decided, you know what, after all those, I don't want to see them, and it's only going to output these ones here. And just so you guys know, you can go ahead and remove things from the array list. So I can go ahead and say ages.remove, and it's going to want, you know, obviously whatever we're going to remove. So if you put a number in, it's going to go ahead and remove the first one. So it's going to remove 12 here, right? Because it starts at 0 and then 1. So if we do a system printout, you can see there that 12 is no longer there. So that's how you remove, that's how you add, that is how you clear, and that is all I got for you guys today. So if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a comment, drop a like, and subscribe.